morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you.
Good morning, Rolika. Good morning to the members of the media, my esteemed colleague, Council of Ministers, and people tuning in via radio, social media. I would like to start with a moment of silence for those that we lost due to COVID-19 over the weekend. Thank you. I pray for strength for the family and friends of those persons. A total of 2,495 lab-confirmed cases have been recorded on St. Martin as of Tuesday, 7th of June. St. Martin is trending at 6 to 8 cases a day. This is a sort of, you have to excuse me, because I really want to stray away for a moment, and I'm thinking about those that we lost. I want people to realize that we lost persons on Saturday and Sunday. COVID-19, especially this UK variant, is nothing to play with. It's not a game. We, St. Martin, we're very lucky. We have free vaccinations. We have one of the top vaccinations in the world. As Minister of Public Health, I receive many requests daily from persons from different countries asking if they can come in and offering to pay for vaccinations, but we are not allowed to. I encourage the people of St. Martin, do not take COVID-19 lightly. Let's go out, let's get vaccinated. On Saturday, June 5th, the pop-up vaccination clinic in Dutch Quarter resulted in 270 persons getting vaccinated. There will be no pop-up this week, but however, on June 19th, at the John Cooper Jose Lake Ball Field, there will be a pop-up. On June 26th, at the De Weaver Estate in Dutch Quarter, we will be returning for persons to get their second vaccination. We encourage everyone to come out. Now is the time. As of June 8, 2021, the total numbers of persons fully vaccinated is 14,192 persons. And we have a total of 19,331 persons that received their first vaccination. The percentage of the drive to 85 vaccination is 44% towards our goal. This leaves 56% towards our goal that have not been vaccinated in any form or fashion. As Minister of Public Health, Development, and Labor, it is my distinct pleasure to inform you that the job portal previously referred to as www.jobopportunities.sx has been revamped and will be relaunched. An agreement was signed yesterday with Sight on Us, and the work to roll out has begun. The job portal will serve as a primary tool for the NESC and will aid greatly in boosting job matching process between employers and job seekers. A full automated and robust platform, a first of its kind for the government of St. Martin. Upon taking office, I have made a commitment to work diligently to address all issues faced by our people regarding opportunities of employment. This is not the end, it is just the beginning of a new era where the focus is you. I wish to thank the owners of Sight on Us, Raymond Pierre Louis, and his consultant, Mavio Cooks. These are two students that received study financing, studied in Florida A&M University, and returned with a degree. and now have the ability to make St. Martin better. Yesterday, I was privileged to meet Mr. Miles Christian Turner of the Indiana Pacers, the basketball team, where we discussed a safe way of promoting and increasing a safe and healthy tourism. On behalf of the Miles Foundation, WARM, he donated $10,000 worth of masks. These are breathable masks for children and young adults. He also mentioned contributing to the community of St. Martin through his foundation, and we will keep in touch. In closing, I would like to encourage everyone to get vaccinated and get tested. Reach out to CPS at 914. I await any questions from the media.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Members of the media, please note that Minister Samuel will be leaving after his opening statements and will not be available for any Q&A. However, I do encourage you to send those questions in writing to the Minister's Cabinet. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rulaika. Good morning. Good morning, PM, my colleagues. Good morning to the members of the media, and a blessed day to the people of St. Martin. Last week, at the end of the week, 2 teachers tested positive for COVID-19 at the Orania School. As a precaution to protect the health of everyone, the Division of Public Education took the decision to close the school on Monday and Tuesday. This was to give the managers, together with CPS, the opportunity to do the needed contact tracing. After the contact tracing and the testing of more persons, it was advised by CPS that all the teachers, as a precaution, should be tested and the school should remain closed for the next 14 days. CPS stressed that based on their investigation, the transmission risk to the students remained low because all teachers except one wore face mask, and the one that didn't, that one wore a shield. As a precautionary measure, however, CPS had advised to close the school to contain further spread. It is important to note that all the tests for the trimester 3 are completed at this point, so the academic program will not be gravely affected because of this decision. The school will move to online instruction to support the lesson instructions for the days that the school is closed. All the needed communication with parents, teachers, and staff took place, and the situation surrounding this COVID situation at the school is being monitored. Another item, we are aware that Group 8 students of the primary school have sat their FBE exit exams. As a result, the results of these exams are scheduled for the 18th of June. At that time, we would know how our students did this year with the FBE exit exams. For the primary school students who sat the traffic exams on the 1st of June, it is noteworthy to mention that the schools will receive the results of the traffic exams today. Notice has been given that the CXC exams have been pushed up from the 14th to the 28th of June. CAPE and CSEC starts on the 28th of June and ends on July 30th this year, and most naturally. CSLC will start on August 9th through 11th. PSVE, HAVO, and VARIO is ongoing, and the results will be coming out this week. The receipts of those exams will start next week after the results. On June 13th, next week, the people of St. Martin and the government of St. Martin will be commemorating the 36th anniversary of Flag Day. As a result of the commemoration, the 36th anniversary of the commemoration of the 36th anniversary of Flag Day, the annual commemoration of Flag Day will take place during the early hours of June 13th at 6 a.m. in front of the Government Administration Building here in Phillipsburg. This year will mark 36 years since St. Martin flag was designed by Miss Roselle Richardson, presented by Dr. Claude Watty, and approved and established by the then sitting members of the Island Council on June 13, 1985. Today, the St. Martin flags remain an intricate part of the fabric of our historical and cultural heritage. In response to the existing social distance protocol of the COVID-19 pandemic, the elected and appointed officials, along with invited dignitary and guests, will attend this event. Some of the main highlights of this event will be the raising of the St. Martin flag, along with key cultural performances. Now, in the days leading up to the commemoration, which is on June 13th, I am asking all persons and businesses in the community to show their national pride and patriotism by flying the St. Martin flag on their vehicles, on their buildings, on their homes, or wherever they deemed it appropriate. Persons are also reminded to follow proper protocol and etiquette of how the flag should be displayed. I thank you, and I won't be there for any. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I would like to make use of this opportunity to congratulate our own Denzel Richardson, who is featured today on the front page of the Daily Herald. Denzel has been chosen or picked as part of the Netherlands national baseball team that would compete in Mexico for a spot in the Olympic Games in Tokyo this year. So congratulations to him, to his supporters, and I would like to, before I leave, support the words and encouragement of my colleague, Minister of VSR, in regards to the vaccine. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, once again for those opening remarks. Once again, members of the media, those questions can be sent in writing to the Minister's Cabinet. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Ludmila De Wever, to address you. Minister De Wever.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to Prime Minister Jacobs, my colleague ministers, members of the media, Ms. Roach, viewing and listening public. Just a quick update. I'm sure everyone has heard last Saturday we had our launch of the larger home porting ship here with Celebrity Cruise Lines. We had a successful launch of the inaugural home porting operation of Celebrity Cruise Lines cruise vessel Millennium on Saturday. St. Martin set sail again last Saturday, and we are looking forward to the cruise industry recovering in the weeks and months to come, and this translating into more weekly and daily ships visiting the island. Our destination is on a journey of recovery and higher economic growth. We also have two smaller ships that will also be home porting here. Starting June 19th, we have Windstar, and in August, we have Crystal Cruises. I'm grateful to the management team at Royal Caribbean Celebrity for their commitment to St. Martin. We did our utmost to make St. Martin a reliable partner in not only creating home porting on a historic scale, but also in helping to relaunch the cruise industry in the Caribbean, for which St. Martin garnered significant exposure globally. With this incredible project, they reaffirmed their confidence in our island as a destination and a cruise attraction. And with this, I would also like to extend my congratulations to the Port of St. Martin, as well as the airport, the Princess Juliana International Airport. Feedback received from Saturday's arrivals and Saturday's handlings of the passengers in and out the airport and the port terminal were positive. The port was prepared with their team. Their team deserves all of the praise in the world for making it a smooth onboarding for the passengers starting their first cruise since 15 months. Also, the experience, even though our airport is at about 30% capacity or occupancy of what we're utilizing, it is important to note that a lot of the feedback that came from the journalist that was visiting, some of the passengers that was visiting, was also positive because the airport and immigration did a significant, with the health team as well actually, did a significant job of ensuring that passengers, that over 2,100 passengers passed through that airport with as little a hiccup as possible. So I would really like to give my gratitude for that. With that said, airlift numbers continue to increase with American Airlines' inaugural flight from Dallas, which also took place on Saturday. American Airlines made its inaugural flight from Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport to St. Martin with a new air service, and some of the first cruise passengers for the home porting were eagerly welcomed at St. Martin Airport. The St. Martin Airport team stood equipped to receive a total of 19 flights with 2,147 inbound and 1,668 outbound. The nonstop flight from Dallas will run on Saturdays from June 5th until August 14th. Passengers were also welcomed by cultural dancers and enchanting steel pan entertainment courtesy of the airport's management and the St. Martin Tourist Bureau. All of this which was said to have contributed to a better passenger experience at the airport. Together with our newly launched home porting venture, these flights add a huge boost to our airlift numbers and restores confidence in our island despite the ongoing pandemic. St. Martin can expect to see increased stayover arrivals and economic activity, and we look forward to welcoming our visitors in a safe and secure way. In terms of hurricane preparedness, we are still in hurricane season. In fact, we just started it. I would like to notify businesses and the community at large that as we are in hurricane season, we urge you to take steps to protect your homes and business, including ensuring that you have the right insurance to secure your property. Our ability to bounce back after a natural disaster is essential to our economic success. Happening next week, which is also a sign that St. Martin is being chosen as a destination for conferences to be held, is the Carib Avia Conference. On June 15th to the 17th, the 5th Annual Caribbean Aviation Meetup, Carib Avia for short, will be held on St. Martin at the Simpson Bay Resort. It will be the third time that the conference is being held on St. Martin, and we are excited about the confidence that this has placed in our island by the organizers. The conference is for all airlift stakeholders. The objective of Carib Avia is to bring them together for discussions and increase collaboration in areas such as inter-island transportation, issues, and opportunities. As the last announcement, actually tomorrow evening, Thursday, the Culture Department and the Tourism Bureau have come together to support one of our local artists, something that we are really trying to promote in our tourism, combining culture, combining the orange economy with our tourism product. And that is a celebration of Miss Bianca Dykhoffs, who will be featured in the movie In the Heights. I am sure it will be available for the rest of the public to see, but this is one of those ways that we continue to celebrate our local artists. And I hope that once it opens up, that the public will have the opportunity to celebrate another one of our local artists. Thank you for your attention, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Silveria Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning to my colleague ministers. Good morning to the members of the press. DCOM representatives here this morning, and of course, all the listeners and viewing public, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As you all know, June 1st marked the opening of our 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, and the government disaster management team has been diligently preparing for the 2021 season. All emergency support functions, ESFs, have their plans in place for this season, and as such, I ask that you do not, as people of St. Martin, become complacent this hurricane season. Be prepared, stay informed, and follow official government information channels for instructions before, during, and after a hurricane. I also thank the minister for reminding businesses of their responsibility, but I'd like to also ask every individual, every family, and of course the business community to make sure you have done all your preparatory work and are ready for the season. The campaign for hurricane preparedness is in full swing, thanks to DCOM as well, and we'll continue to provide you information via that medium and all other media outlets pertaining to tips on how to be prepared and what to do in the event of a strike. As you know, we've also finalized all of the work necessary to have the 11 shelters prepared, and of course, we're making further strides, taking into consideration the COVID reality in terms of preparation for that. So as individuals, as residents, please do the same. Many have been querying the results of my trip together with the Minister of Finance to the Netherlands over the past week. I returned on Friday, as many know. Of course, not with a bag of money, but I must say I cannot consider that the trip was a waste of time. In advance of our travel, we did plan for several meetings with various stakeholders, and as such, I believe that despite the negative outcome of that Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting, that the results of the other meetings were very, very fruitful. Meetings such as those with the Royal Schiphol Group themselves, those with individual members of the Second Chamber, as well as with the Kingdom Relations Committee of the Second Chamber, and then also with the First Chamber and the Kingdom Council of State. Of course, there are many ways to Rome, and for me, many keep asking about the relationship between St. Martin and the Netherlands. Those meetings were mainly to ensure that St. Martin is heard, that we build bridges with all the stakeholders, and especially those that hold the government of the Netherlands accountable. That is the Second Chamber and First Chamber. We received great advice, and we are working on ways to bring some mediation in this relationship, as we do feel that at many times, the smaller islands, not just St. Martin, do not have actually much recourse or redress when we feel that we're not being treated fairly. So as such, I believe many great bridges were built, as well as, I must say, our first meeting as Prime Ministers of the Netherlands and St. Martin. Such a meeting was also held, which is a good step in the right direction, and the commitment for quarterly meetings with all Prime Ministers within the Kingdom, aimed at ensuring that the relationship is improved and that there is understanding on all sides for the reality of what we are facing, especially here in the smaller islands. We continue as Government of St. Martin to take the necessary steps as we have the responsibility to do regarding our government-owned companies, and especially the airport. The Royal Schiphol Group has also informed that they are willing to get back to the table and have the discussions to move forward with the cooperation agreement. We have formed the, let's say, the structure for that to continue, and we look forward to the airport continuing to be on track for the reconstruction with the assistance of the Schiphol Group. I also would like to congratulate the Minister of Tourism and all of the ministers involved in ensuring that we were able to have a successful launch of the tourist season in the sense of cruising and home porting for St. Martin. Congratulations, Minister, with the inauguration of Celebrity Millennium, as well as the other two cruise ships that will be continuing as well. St. Martin Tourist Bureau, Port St. Martin, Royal Caribbean, all the key stakeholders, especially the colleagues in TEAT and VSA, We could not do this without great collaboration there, as you know, ensuring our population's safety as well as the safety of our travelers and our port is of tantamount importance. I must say the spin-off at the airport was also commendable, and there were also inaugural flights on that day, on Saturday. So congratulations. These are the hopeful things that happen that continue to remind the people of St. Martin that we are maybe a bit down, but we're not out, and the possibilities for the future look great. These opportunities will keep St. Martin on the map. Persons are still interested in coming to St. Martin and using this island as their vacation spot. Many also to come and reside and work. And so therefore, I ask the people of St. Martin, let us continue to keep safe and do what we need to do as residents in terms of the vaccination program. And with that, I'd like to add my voice to that of the ministers before me, and especially the Minister of VSR, to promote the vaccination program. I am very much encouraged by the increase in numbers over the past few weeks from, I believe it was 28% or 23, and now up to 44% in just a few short weeks. So I think that is highly commendable. Even in large countries, some are only now achieving 50%. And so we look forward to being able to get to that 85% at least before the start of our hurricane season. Every person that suffers as a result of COVID-19 affects them, affects their family, their colleagues, and St. Martin as a whole. And anyone who passes as a result of having suffered through COVID-19 affects all of us even more so. And I think we should, as a community, take every step possible to avoid that happening. Through this means, I also would like to extend deepest condolences to all those persons who have recently lost members, but also remembering those that have been lost throughout this time. 30 for us is a large number, and 30 too much. Please let us endeavor to ensure that it remains there. Stay safe, take all the necessary precautions, but of course the safest thing at this time is to get vaccinated. So look out for the times, the dates, and especially the pop-ups for those that have transportation issues. That is also arranged at the pop-ups. So let us get to 85 as soon as possible, St. Martin, and continue to prepare for the hurricane season. I look forward to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. We now move on to the question and answer session. However, I would like to inform the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but is available for any questions the media may have. The floor is open, and I would now like to invite Bibi Hart Shaw of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Rulaika, and thank you. Good morning, ministers, colleagues, and those viewing. My question for the Minister of Finance, Minister Artwell Edion. Can you tell us if civil servants will be receiving their vacation allowances this year? I know last year there were cuts due to the cuts that were forced on St. Martin for liquidity, but now what is the status, and can civil servants look forward for their extra money this next week, actually?
Good morning, Ms. Shaw. Thank you for your question. The harsh reality at the moment is St. Martin is in need of urgent liquidity support, and at this point in time, we are looking to just at least try and pay the salaries at the end of this month. In addition to that, we have agreed to the temporary 12.5% reduction of employment packages that were based on the conditions by the Netherlands for us to be able to receive liquidity support in the last year. For now, the legal process is not finalized, as the Constitutional Court will be assessing the conditions and if they are compatible with our Constitution. And we don't have a timeline as to when this will be done as yet. So for now, we will have patience and continue to await the outcome of the Constitutional Court while applying and living up to the agreement that we made.
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Ralph Cantab of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to everyone in the room, to the viewing and listening audience. I have a question for the Minister of TIET and the Minister of Finance. First question, while home porting is a new and historic opportunity for St. Martin, it is still susceptible to threats of climate change and global shocks. And I remember during the lockdown, we had lots of public discourse on diversifying our economy. And I'm also aware that the ministry had a work group or committee, I believe, that was formed to brainstorm ways in which we can diversify our economy. And so my question for the minister is, what plans has the ministry started to add other industries that our economy could rely on? And my question for the Minister of Finance is, can you share details on the status of the budget and when can we expect it to be debated on in Parliament?
Thank you for the question. And thank you for the reminder, because even though diversification was something that we had to consider, it was not something that I was prepared to go into during a pandemic because it requires significant financing. And my message has always been from the very beginning that while I support diversification, the one driver that kept our economy going was what we know, which is tourism. So unless we fix our tourism product, there is no way that we can survive in order to diversify. But what the ministry has done is actually worked in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance and with credits to provide loans with actually also NRPB and the trust fund to provide financing for projects that actually will be supporting small entrepreneurs. One of those things that you see that's happening here is a lot of people are doing their own farming, and it's about providing support to those sort of businesses. And for instance, I was actually updating Council of Ministers yesterday as well, that with our contacts, with our position as ministers, we take advantage in ways that we can actually support and promote our industries here that we have. And one of the things that I have done is put one of our designers in contact with the cruise so that they can sell their products on the cruise. That is how we level up our country. That's how we make sure that our people can survive. So while diversification is very much a discussion, it was something that we could not jump on when we were trying to figure out that how we open back up our country. How do we rebuild our island in terms structurally as well as the airport? So diversification will continue to be an option so that we can rely on something in the worst case scenario that we have a stoppage again due to a pandemic. Thank you, and I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Ralph Cantab. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. I believe this might be your first time in this professional setting. Glad to see our young professionals come back home after studying journalism, actually, and being here, and the public can get to see the fruits of your labor. In regards to your question, I don't believe if that was only for TIET or for me, but just give us a short answer to that question also. The Minister of TIET and myself, we do support the ESP program from the NRPB. We are going to also start to promote it even more. We have already a few successful applications that were approved and already being successful within the first year. I would like to encourage more companies, more startups to start to apply. The last few meetings that I did have with NRPB and the team is that we want to push the startup section even more. If you look at Front Street, we see a lot of vacant areas, and the idea would be to be able to have local companies be able to start to fill up all these vacant spots with new creative ideas that will complement our tourism, especially seeing home porting and so forth, and future opportunities that the minister is also working on. In regards to the budget, it has been sent to Parliament. The Central Committee should start on the 17th, and the public meeting should start on the 28th of June.
The minute I stopped talking and said thank you for the question, I remembered one of the things that we had in there to boost visitors or people coming here on a longer term was the project that we started with the digital nomad. And what the public didn't know is that we had been receiving people to work in St. Martin short term from before the pandemic, and it was something that all islands were kind of jumping on to see how we could improve St. Martin as a place for digital nomads to be, whether it's tax, whether it's costs, permits. So combination across ministries. And in this discussion, actually, when that came up, I met so many people that had been on the island for about 10 years on and off as digital nomads who wanted to contribute to that policy. So as you can see, even though there's a ton of things to diversify to see how we can keep things rolling, the public doesn't really get to be updated or know about it because there's certain maybe tweaks to it that have to be improved. But what I can say that we have been done it, and again, it's more than one ministry that needed to do it, is why we were trying to make sure that we clean up the way that regulation is done around telecommunication. We encourage proper collaboration and cooperation between people such as the BTP and Telem, because Telem had a huge project that I don't think the public maybe was aware of for the fiber. So when we're trying to promote diversification, we have to make sure that we have the infrastructure there in place. One of those things, again, and I know you're looking at me, but you see he started my brain going and it took a while because it's early, but another one was maritime, how we're gonna do maritime. So I could go on and on and on and on, but I will tell you one thing is that it's not one ministry alone. You can see how all the ministries have to combine to do it, to make this island a place where these sort of things will be a possibility. And then you change that public perception that we only survive on tourism. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot that we have to continue to do to support the island surviving. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Dr. Sock-Sockran of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to everyone. Madam Prime Minister, welcome back. We missed you. And thank you. I'd like to address this question to both you, Madam Prime Minister, and Minister Otley, if I might. It's not an easy question, but I'm going to ask it because I think these challenging times call for real diplomacy. And I think we would all agree, based on everybody's comments today, that the key to ending the pandemic is certainly vaccination. The French side has had a significant increase in their cases, and we don't really have an active case number. Doesn't really get shared all that much. We seem to do about 400-ish, maybe a little more, vaccinations a day on the Dutch side. French side reportedly does far fewer. Might it be the time now, truly, Madam Prime Minister and Minister Otley, to exercise real true diplomacy between the north and the south side of the island? By this, I suggest that the governments get together and implement and enforce a travel rule, perhaps like we've seen in other parts of the world, that requires the proof of full vaccination to cross back and forth over the border, or maybe perhaps proof of a 48-hour rapid antigen test to cross the border to try and minimize the spread. We see these types of travel rules in place all over the world. Might we see something along these lines in the form of diplomacy, working with our counterparts to the north, or your counterparts to the north, to do something along these lines? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sock, for the welcome and the question. I'm sure the minister will be able to go into the vaccination part, but what I can say is in our meetings, first of all, the French and Dutch health sectors that are dealing with testing and vaccinating, the ARS from the French side and CPS are in constant contact. Yes, we do have a challenge with getting the numbers, and again, diplomacy being what it is, the realities of our different situations and who takes the decisions related to France, related to French Saint Martin, is in France. So it is with the prefect and the local government to encourage them to deviate from certain protocols that they have in France, especially where it comes to reporting and testing and vaccinating. We've agreed in the last meeting we had to collaborate to promote the vaccine, and that they would actually be using some of the protocols that are working on our side. For us to be able to protect the population in the South, we continue to promote the vaccinations. And as we increase that vaccination rate, we will see our infection rate go down and stay down. So that is our goal. They also have the goal to increase vaccination, but they have less success on that side. We've collaborated, shared strategies, etc. And of course, I haven't been in personal contact in the last few weeks, but it will be one of the things that I do before this week is out, is to touch base to see what else can be done for us to collaborate. As it relates to some type of a pass to go across the border, no, that is nowhere in the discussions. I do know the minister can probably give more information as to having more updated versions to regulate who has been vaccinated. And so with that, I'll pass the floor to Minister Otley.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Dr. Sack. Prime Minister basically covered all the angles that I could speak of, to be honest. That's it.
Thank you, Minister Otley. Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Dr. Salk, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to Minister De Wever. Minister De Wever, St. Martin have made history last weekend, and I assume that more emphasis should be on this moment. When you compare all the large cruise ship harbor throughout the Caribbean, and St. Martin have been chosen for home porting. This is a great moment for St. Martin. Minister, is it win-win for the people and the businesses of St. Martin?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Brown, and thank you for recognizing the fact that this is a humongous, significant celebration and event for the island. I'll answer you very, very briefly, very easily. It is a win-win whenever our island has the opportunity to make more money and for our people to actually be able to feed themselves. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, Prime Minister. Good morning to you, ministers as well, and my colleagues, of course. My question is for the Prime Minister as Minister of General Affairs. Prime Minister, you spoke of the state of readiness and what have you in preparation for the Atlantic hurricane season. In the past, we know that St. Martin have open houses and workshops to better inform the general population as to how they can go about getting ready for the hurricane season. Is that something that you're considering this year? And secondly, PAHO is to have a virtual meeting on preparedness for the Americas. This meeting is geared specifically towards the different emergency organizations. Will St. Martin be part of this virtual meeting as well?
Thank you for the question, Stephen. Indeed, the preparations, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, will continue in the sense of promotion via CoM and the other social media and any and all sessions. I think this year, in my updated meeting, I am also in Parliament this afternoon or shortly after this, actually, to discuss disaster management. And so I will reserve the longer discussion for there, where the general public can tune in. But definitely all the ESFs are prepared. They have been prepared, and last year we put in new protocols as it related to COVID-19. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, and for us it is important that the people of St. Martin also, it would help a lot if we get ourselves vaccinated. Those sessions, I'm not sure whether we are taking part in that PAHO session, but St. Martin usually does take part in those sessions, and I must mention that our ESF coordinators, or ESF functions have all been in a training with VNGI to be able to move towards a platform that is live. We're not ready to roll it out yet. They are currently adjusting the international one for the needs of St. Martin, and by next season we'll be able to have that. But in the meantime, our ESF coordinators have all been trained or being trained. They're finalizing this training next week, and they are then applying what they have learned already into the new ways of working. They've also done assessment of previous years' and how things rolled out and made adjustment in the plans to accommodate for those challenges. But of course, every opportunity to educate the population, we will promote and use all the necessary media to do so.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. We now move on to the second round of questions. Bibi Hatshaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Rolika, I'm going to ask the Minister of Finance a follow-up, and then I'll ask my question to the Minister of TIAT. Minister Irian, if I heard you correctly when I asked my first question regarding the vacation allowance, you said St. Martin is looking towards paying salaries. Can you tell me how many months' salaries we have guaranteed at the moment? And if the liquidity support does not come, even though you're anticipating that, do we have a plan B to fill, the gaps or the holes that is left because of no liquidity? And Minister of TIAT, Minister DeWeaver, it has been quite a while now, the selection process to appoint a CEO of the harbor have been taking place. Can you tell us when that process is going to finalize and when the CEO will be appointed? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hatshaw. Any hiring of any management or a board goes through a process. Once that process is completed, it goes for advice around the various agencies that we have here to vet corporate governance. And once that's done, that's when we get notification, and whoever management or board is will be placed on there. So I do not have a timeline for that, but it is in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Minister Irion.
Thank you for your question, Michelle. I believe your question was in regards to how much, if you can pay salaries this month, and
This month and how many other months? Do we have 2 months, 3 months there? And if there is no liquidity support, what is your plan B to get more money?
Thank you for your question. We are basically now at a month-to-month basis when it comes to taxes. We do see a slight increase, or we expect to see a slight increase with the current economic activity of the home porting. And I believe in the meeting we had with TIAT the other day, we had about 4,000 incoming passengers in one day, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Minister. So we are expecting to see a slight increase in our income, and we are basically month to month, but we will be covering the salaries of this month.
Thank you, Minister Irion. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Ralph Cantab. You have the floor.
Okay, I have a question for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, ever since returning on Friday, have you had any discussions with the State Secretary? And second question would be, if it's possible that you can share any details on a corporate governance implementation plan at the airport.
Thank you, Ralph, and welcome. I must add that. Very proud to see you here seated before us this morning as a recognized journalist. Yes, not directly. Prior to leaving the Netherlands, I did have a informal discussion with the State Secretary, who had been updated by the Royal Schiphol Group that we are moving forward with the discussions, and he still did not deem that, based on my conversation with him, sufficient to release the funds. As you know, the mandate that he has from the RMR is there's not another meeting to be held for that fund to be released, but it is at his discretion, together with the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister, to determine whether the steps taken or the indication given by Royal Schiphol Group is sufficient. A very weird construct within our decision-making, and as I mentioned, a dangerous precedent being set by the Kingdom Council of Ministers to actually ratify the decision taken by the State Secretary prior to him being mandated to do so. What I can say is that, as such, I have not reached out since. I have been focused on getting into the current events that have been running without my direction and guidance over the time that I was gone, catching up, so to speak, and preparing for Parliament meetings as well as budget meetings coming up. We are focused on moving forward. We have laid the groundwork. Basically, St. Martin did not do anything wrong to be punished in this way. And in my many discourses with the State Secretary, with the Kingdom Council of Ministers, in extended discussions with a smaller group, with all of the other stakeholders that I've mentioned in my opening remarks, there is agreement that St. Martin lived up to its part of the agreement. And there is agreement that it should have been released. And there is more air for it now, let's say, in the Netherlands. And hopefully in the coming meetings of the second chamber, the State Secretary will be able to explain himself why these two separate trajectories are being mixed and constantly putting other things in the way. It makes it very difficult for us as St. Martin, and that's why I believe mediation is necessary for us to determine how we will move forward with the discussions for liquidity support if we live up to the conditions and cannot receive what has been agreed for with that. Of course, as a small island, we do have challenges with human resources, and then continued delay of the finances makes it difficult also to live up to then subsequent agreements that have been made in the meantime, because we did sign on for the next uitvoeringsagenda or implementation plan for government. Your second question, Mr. Cantab, was relating to the implementation agenda or a plan for corporate governance. That forms part of the package. It's under B15, and up until this week, there was discussions, or I must reiterate, the decision to improve corporate governance at the airport was done 2019. It was funded initially with a task force via the trust fund. Once that task force had presented its plan, we had discussions back and forth with this government, approved the plan. We moved as of February into moving towards the implementation. We received, let's say, from the now implementation team in early May, the plan for implementation with budget attached, etc. And government of St. Martin, prior to the May 15th deadline at that time, which is part of the next uitvoeringsagenda, not the one for which we had to receive the 39 million, we were stuck based on the fact that we don't have the finances nor the budget for the implementation plan. The State Secretary and his entourage visited that week, and on the 17th, we got the agreement for the financing for that. And as such, we move forward to mandate the implementation team. So that implementation plan is approved. We had to formalize a request, which is being done at the moment, official, to the Ministry of Basic Care to finance it. And that's where we are at the moment. So the team has been identified, the funding has been identified, and the plan is a year-long implementation. So it is expected once it starts that the process can take a year, but of course we'll do our best to speed that up. And it includes improvement at Corporate Governance Council.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. I would like to inform the members of the media this will be the last round of questions. Dr. Sock, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Minister Otley, if I might, we're on our way to, we're at the, as of last night, 33,523 doses of vaccines delivered, both first and second combined. Bravo to your team. It has been a tremendous, well-oiled effort to watch the pop-ups happen. One of the things that we're reading and hearing is that the Netherlands is now talking about going to a one-dose policy for two-dose vaccines when the individual is recovered from COVID-19. And our own medical experts, well, certainly visiting Professor and Dr. Deutz, who was here last week, was strongly against that during his discussions. Our very own and very well-respected Inspector General, Dr. Best, has said similar. Will, I guess first, if we continue with two doses with Pfizer, will we still continue giving everyone, regardless of their previous COVID status, two doses of the vaccine? And then I guess along those same lines, there was discussion previously about going on the, I believe, the 9th of July, or finishing Pfizer on the 9th of July, and then going to the Johnson & Johnson as a single-dose vaccine. for the remainder of July. So will we continue with 2 doses for people that are COVID survivors, and will Johnson & Johnson be the single-dose vaccine that we use? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sack. Indeed, the Netherlands has adapted the 1 shot for COVID recovered persons. I am a bit confused because I don't know if we were in 2 different meetings, because Dr. Deutz actually agreed with it. So I'm a little confused when you say Dr. Deutz was against it. I know Mr. Earl Best, the inspectorate, had his questions. And in the presentation given by Dr. Deutz, what he explained to the public is when you have antibodies from COVID, yes, you do have it. But 1 shot increases the cushion between the virus and your receptors enough. So 1 shot plus COVID-19 antibodies is equivalent to 2 shots. There were doctors and professionals that asked their questions in our seminar, and Dr. Deutz explained it with a graph that clearly showed the difference between someone with 1 shot without COVID and someone who had COVID with 1 shot. And if you had COVID and you took your 1 shot, it was equivalent to 2 shots. Also, the CDC has adapted this along with the Netherlands. So I have had discussions yesterday in the Nederlander Overleg, the 4 country meetings, with State Secretary Blackhuis, with the Mark Springer, and so forth. And it was said that a decision will be given to us next week from the Netherlands if we should adapt this process. But me personally, I am for this process of applying 1 shot to persons who had COVID-19. I was a bit skeptical until I read the research from the CDC, from the Netherlands, and I sat in a seminar with Dr. Deutz. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown. You have the floor.
This question will be between the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, seeing that you guys experienced the visit to the Netherlands. Oftentimes, Minister, you will hear people mention like, oh, the Prime Minister will say, keep your money. I mean, this is a process. I mean, St. Martin need a finance, and telling the Dutch keep their money, it can be disastrous, Minister. Are we seeing it close for financial independence?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Linda Brown. I believe that many countries in the world would love to be financially independent at the moment, but if you just do a quick search, especially I would say the small island nations, so every island in the Caribbean, when we meet with the different finance ministers within the Caribbean, we're all facing similar issues because of our small size. Other islands are looking to the IMF and World Bank and so forth. We have the Netherlands, and we all would love to be financially independent, but at this point in time, we all are seeking financing from somewhere. Ours happen to be because of our constitution via the Netherlands. I would hope that one day the St. Martin will be able to, through diversification of our economy, investment in our educational system, that we will become, and I believe at one point in time, we will become financially independent and maybe even be able to help our sister islands like Statia and Sabin and so forth, like how the Netherlands helps us. I do believe it's possible, but at this point in time, yes, we do need the financial support from the Netherlands.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Prime Minister Jacobs.
Thank you. I believe the Minister answered it already, what was asked. It is the reality. What I would like to clarify is the funds that we are receiving for liquidity support is a loan. It's a loan that has to be repaid. And had it been possible for us to get the loan elsewhere, that would have been done already. The Minister, last year, we did make an attempt to float a bond on the local market. And yes, maybe we need to explore the possibilities of that again, seeing that our vital processes are now being jeopardized as well. We have discussed this at length. The State Secretary does see that these vital processes are needed, and they also form part of the conditions for for the cooperation. So I'm looking forward to us receiving those funds within short, and that we look at ways to improve the way we actually negotiate moving forward. But indeed, people may have opinions, but they don't always have the full story, and that's why I do my best to come to the public and inform as to what we are dealing with as a government, that we do have a serious liquidity problem, that we need to get our economy going, and from all intents and purposes, we are seeing that St. Martin is projected to improve in economic development. And yes, working toward a diversification remains a priority as well.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean. You have the final question.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. My final question is addressed to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, we know that an operational audit was supposed to be happening at TELEM. Can you provide us some information as to how far ahead is that audit? And B, the supervisory board we understood has been put in place. Give us some insight, if you may.
Thank you, Stephen. Indeed, I believe SWABE was the entity that is carrying out that. We have not received an update as yet, so as soon as we have that, we'll be able to share it. We don't usually go after them once it's finalized. We will get the updates, and the process to finalize the board appointments is ongoing.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you once again, members of the media. This does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Thank you for joining us. Honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the official YouTube website at Government of St. Martin. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Roleika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.